Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Hava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Kunda Bihari Gopichanna Balaba Dirivanadari Gopichanna Balaba Dirivanadari Jasoranandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jasoranandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamunati Ravanachari Jamunati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopichanna Balaba Dirivanadari Jasoranandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamunati Ravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Pari Vijakacharya Sita Dashish Manas Avangri Sabhacharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kota Vaishya Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki. Say Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Navadi Dham Ki. Jagannathpuri Dham Ki. Jamuna Maya Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambhita Bhakti Vrinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Say Siddhara Giridhari Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki. Gopremanandi. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories of Divine Lotus Feet to C. Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Svedamo Bhagate Dhammaganadi Bisaha Kalana Sadasham Mesha Parano Kornadodata Narayana Namaskritcha Naram Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Badrinarayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, the goddess of learning, the Saraswati, the author, Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are on text 33, yeah? If there's synchronicity in the universe. We're going to do 33 and 34. Anyata Mriyamanasya Nasuche Vishali Patehe Vaikunta Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Iharati Anyata Mriyamanasya Nasuche Vishali Patehe Vaikunta Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Iharati Anyata Mriyamanasya Nasuche Vishali Patehi Vaikunta Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Iharati Anyata Mriyamanasya Nasuche Vishali Patehi Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Miharati Anyatam Riyamanasya Nasuche Vishalipati Vaikuntha Grama Namaha Anyatam Riyamanasya Nasuche Vishalipati Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam Grihatum Harati Anyatam Yamanasya Nasuche Vishalipate Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Miharati Vaishnavis Anyatam Yamanasya Nasuche Vishalipate Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Miharati Anyatam Yamanasya Yachuche Vishalipate Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam Jiva Vaktum Miharati Anyata. Otherwise, Miyamanasya, of a person who is just ready for death. And who is that? We heard yesterday. Who is a person just ready for death? Does anyone know? Yeah, and some sooner than others. So old doesn't mean age, number of years. Not. Asuche, most unclean. Vishali Pate, the keeper of a prostitute. Vaikuntha, of the Lord of Vaikuntha. Namagrahanam, the chanting of the holy name. Jiva, the tongue. Vaktum, to speak. Iha, in this situation. Arhati, is able. Now this is a Jamil speaking after he's had the daylight scared out of him. Were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntha Pati when I was just ready to die? Certainly it could not have been possible. Okay, also you say, were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntha Pati when I was just ready to die? Certainly it could not have been possible. Purport. The name Vaikuntha Pati, which means, quote, the master of the spiritual world, end quote, is not different from the name of Vaikuntha. A Jamil, who was now a realized soul, could understand that because of his past spiritual activities and devotional service, he'd gotten this opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntha Pati in his horrible condition at the time of death. And the next verse, 34, is, and the translation, a Jamil continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all-auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayan? Purport. Those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayan Krishna through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what it is now. We had fallen into an abominable lives as meat-eaters, drunkards, and woman hunters, who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. By the grace of the Lord, we are opening many branches, and we should use this good fortune to chant the holy name of the Lord and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. We must be conscious of the difference between our present and past condition, and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. Om Aganatamurandasya Ganagana Salakya Jakshushumdatangena Tazadeshi Gurave Namaha. I wanted to say a few notes before getting into the main points of the Prabhupada is speaking as if one of us. He says our past condition, he's taking our role. And there were some who said, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers, and you'll still hear it occasionally if you go to Indian mix with the wrong circles. They're usually hovering around the edges of Mayapur and Vrindavan, waiting to predatory and parasitic, if I say so myself. And they'll say, well, we could have done it too. We could have gone to the West. I actually heard one of Prabhupada's godbrothers say this. We could have gone. But your Bhaktivedanta Swami was a householder. He was a businessman. He could go mix with these people. I am a Saraswati Brahmin. I could not mix with these people in the West. And it's true. Where was it with Carl and I forgot Carl's wife's name, in the apartment in New York where they had, walking backwards, that's interesting. They had cat food in the, where Prabhupada had to keep his boga, so many things. And then there's, when he showed up at Sally Agarwal's and she had just cooked roast beef, and she's trying to air out the kitchen by saying, sorry, Swami, sorry, Swami. So, well, Prabhupada, he was a householder and a businessman, and so he could mix with these people. But we could not do that. We should never forget there's a tape, Prabhupada speaking in San Francisco, and some crazy person stands up and says, I suppose you think you're God, I'm God, we're all, just goes off completely, some LSD-induced madness. And you hear on the tape, the mic is on, but Prabhupada's speaking to himself. It's this crazed circuses going on. There's that interview, I think it's in Dallas. They asked Prabhupada, what is a hippie? Prabhupada says, oh, something amazing. But this person goes off and is shouting at Srila Prabhupada. And you hear Prabhupada say on the microphone, it is the darkest of darkness. So the only way Prabhupada was able to do it, it wasn't that he was somehow or other, of a lower class, and therefore it wasn't a rough edge for him, It was out of, yes, they could not do it. They could not do it because they did not have the deep, burning compassion to save the conditioned souls. It's the only way Prabhupada was. The two things, Prabhupada had faith in the holy name, and he had faith in the order of his spiritual master and the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's Prabhupada would go to the Scindia ship line and see when the next ship was going back to India. And he would come regularly. And that Mr. Forster, I think was his name, the clerk, they interviewed him at Scindia shipping line. And after Prabhupada came a couple times and checked out when the ship was going, and then, they wouldn't see him for a month or two, then he'd come back and check. And Mr. Forster said to him, I don't think you're going. Prabhupada said, no, but it gives me some peace of mind thinking I could go. So, Prabhupada was and Prabhupada didn't like cold weather. There's that famous picture of Prabhupada. He's got like his dhoti, and he's got long johns, he's got a jacket, a cap, a scarf, he's got some kind of, I don't know what, army mud boots on. If you look at it, and Prabhupada's just like, and he's on his way to Dr. Mishra's, so it's just only someone of the deepest, and that's the qualification. They have to know that we have to act. Hari Sari told me, he said to Prabhupada one time, because Prabhupada would just strike up a conversation and make friends with all kinds, whoever the person was, whatever their station in life, whether they were an aristocrat or a multi-million-dollar, whatever it was, what do they call, crorepati or whatever it was, or just some simple sweeper in the street, So Hari Sari said, he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, everyone likes you. Anyone know Prabhupada's answer? Yeah. Other than Dravida? Prabhupada said, because I like everyone. So that not just Pandita Samadarshana doesn't mean neutral, doesn't mean, what is the word? Stagnant or impersonal. But it means you see everyone is spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and how to get these conditioned souls back. So that, yes, they couldn't do it because they didn't have the magnanimity, the deep heart of a follower of Rupa Goswami. So I just thought I would get that off my chest. And another thing I was thinking, for us to tolerate others, it's more or less like a lateral pass. A lateral pass is you're passing on it's a horizontal activity, you're handing off the unity. We're on the same level. But Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna told me one time, Prabhupada was staying in San Francisco, and Prabhupada said out of the blue, I smell chicken soup. Somebody in the building was cooking chicken soup, in the apartment building. And Tamal said, well, I don't smell it. Prabhupada says, you don't have purified senses. And Prabhupada was translating in Detroit. I had this personal experience that Prabhupada said, what is that sound? What is that sound? A door is slamming. I cannot concentrate. A door is slamming. Because Prabhupada said, I have to pick every word carefully. Prabhupada said, these books will stand as the law books for humankind for the next 10,000 years. Because the Renaissance begins at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. It's like there's a river may be going in one direction, and then you have a small cross current going in other directions sometimes. So Kali Yuga is going down, but there's a cross current. There's a golden age for 10,000 years. And Prabhupada said it's 5,000 years up, and then a 5,000 year plateau, and then it's gone. All the devotees go back to Godhead. The devotees asked Prabhupada, what happens after that? He said, oh, you can see the fun. Kali Yuga just goes full bore to the point that the fruit there's only skin and a seed, a pulp, like these loquat trees. It's skin and a black seed, and so many things. Even now, I personally am convinced that all this almond milk and all this other stuff, I appreciate not the factory farming, not going after the cows, but I think it's milk drying up in the age of Kali, that people come to the point that there's no milk, there's no sugar, there's no, I don't want to offend any art. But well, I guess I'll go into because I could go in that direction, but Prabhupada, he reached down to us. It was, from such an elevated platform. Prabhupada went out. There's that picture in San Francisco. They're on Hippie Hill, and they actually took Lord Jagannath out. Here in San Diego, they swung the Jagannath deities on a swing. These deities. I think it was these deities. Prabhupada said, no, you don't do that, We did so many things. They used to offer a sparkler one, not here, but that was in Nayana Bharam. Instead of a flower, offered a 4th of July sparkler. Prabhupada said, no, it should smell nice. Not like gunpowder. So, I mean, they did so many. Oh, that's what it was. So Prabhupada said he had to pick every word carefully because they have to stand. He told this to Ramaswara, he told it to Harisari, and he told it to Harikesh. I've got all 3 instances noted. It's a fact. 3 different types. Like what is it? If you a quadratic equation, you get 3 points line up on the same line, it confirms that it's an accurate calculation. 3 different times to 3 different people, Prabhupada said, these books will stand as the law books for humankind for the next 10,000 years. So Prabhupada said, I have to pick every word carefully. So Prabhupada said, door is slamming. Cracks the heart. So this door. So Govardhan was the temple president. I was the temple commander, Sankirtan leader. He said, Prabhupada can't change, there's a door slam. He and I looked all over the place. We could not find the door. Finally we found, here's the temple building. In a completely separate building, it was called the carriage house, which was a garage underneath, and then there was a closet door slamming in the wind. It was a good at least 75 yards through 2 different buildings and a bunch of walls. Prabhupada could hear it. Purified senses, you know? So, Jamuna says that it's considered the best type of wheat to use for japatis. It's red wheat from Rajasthan. You know, Rajasthan's hot, and so it's a nice. So she got it. Somehow she got the wheat, the kernels, ground it herself, and made Prabhupada chapatis. Didn't say anything to Prabhupada. Prabhupada would tear off a little piece of the chapati, take a pinch of veg. Prabhupada popped it in his mouth. He said, oh, red wheat from Rajasthan. You know what I mean? And yet that person with such refined senses, such a delicate person. Prabhupada was a very refined gentleman, you know. And yet he was right in there with us, standing in line, waiting to use the bathroom, you know, and whatever it was. He was right in there with the devotees, going out on Harinam, doing the whole thing, tolerating the cat food in the refrigerator, crazy people. The person that wanted to borrow money to buy gasoline to light themselves on fire. Prabhupada asked the treasurer. The treasurer, Brahmananda, was hip to what was going on. Oh, it's $50. For a gallon. First thing Prabhupada calculated was a gallon doesn't cost $50, so the person's not completely in order. And then Prabhupada said, no, we don't have that in our treasury. And that's why Prabhupada, and then they stalled the guy so he didn't do it, you know. But I mean, there's so many different examples of when Prabhupada was visiting the Laguna Beach Temple, and it was on a hill. They had a little VW bug that used to drive Prabhupada around him. And so he came down to speak at the Laguna Beach Temple, and Nanda Kumar got out to open the door for Prabhupada, but the car was on a hill. He forgot to set the brake. The car started to roll. We had to grab the bumper. We grabbed the bumper. Prabhupada would have gone right down the hill, you know. Somebody nicked off, what was his name? Not Devananda. Anyway, it doesn't come to me. Not Kartikeya. But someone nicked off half of Prabhupada's Sika. Shaving, what is this? It's half a Prabhupada Sika, you know? So just it's not, it requires that deep, of course we all know the example, a bucket of blood, but to deliver someone. But for us, but by the grace of God go I. We're all in that same boat. It's certainly those of us born in the West, had all bad habits, And for Prabhupada to reach down into the muck, it was not a lateral pass. It was reaching deep down into the muck of Maya and pulling us out. So we should always remember that we were delivered. As we were delivered, we have a duty to deliver others. There's the famous story. I'm going to mention it again. What's the time? Whoa. There's the famous story of Madhuvisa Maharaj, one of the great heroes of our society. Opened up so many temples. He was the Energizer Bunny? That man could chant, like Vishnujana, he could chant for 12 hours straight, blissful kirtan. Opened up Australia, just a fantastic devotee. So, he said to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, it says in the Gita that one who's pious for many lifetimes has to perform pious activities, And reaction to sinful activities, no pop and punya, plenty of punya, no pop, They can take the devotional service. He said, how have I become a devotee? He said, I was sinful till the day I met you. I had a McDonald's before I came over the first time to the devotees. Guru Kripa got out of, saw these guys in skirts building a cart. He came over to beat them up. That was his intention. He literally got in the car and he met Jayananda, who was about 6'3" and a solid guy. And Jayananda just hit him, with positive energy. I just, hey, you look strong. Can you help me move this fridge? They were moving something out of a truck. He said the next thing he knew, it was 1 o'clock. Jayananda had stuffed him full of food he'd never had, and he didn't even know what happened to him. He'd been working hard, 5 hours, didn't even realize it, just because he ran into Jayananda. So, but his intent was to beat up the devotees. That was his plan, his morning program. So we should always remember that, where would we have been? Where would we have, And we think sometimes, well, okay, I made this path and I wound up here. But if I'd gone this way, well, then I would have gotten the high school homecoming queen and caught the, whatever it was, the homecoming pass, and gotten into Harvard and made millions of dollars and been president of the United States if I'd just gone this way. Anyone know the answer to that? See, somebody was saying like that, and there was my old friend Dr. Northcraft from the Ozarks, from Arkansas, said, son, if I'd only done this, if I'd only done that, if I'd only done this. He said, son, there's more than one way to be wrong. You get it? If we'd gone that way, there would have been another set of problems. It's not that, if I went this way and I had problems. If I'd only gone that way, I would have been successful in the material world. No. So Prabhupada's making that point here because it should be an impetus, how we were delivered. If one is delivered, one feels grateful. If you have any kind of heart. And so Prabhupada said to Madhavisa, when Madhavisa said, Prabhupada, how is it possible? Prabhupada said, I have created your good fortune. Prabhupada was speaking in Detroit about the Chaitanya Charitamrita that had just come out. He was reading it instead of Bhagavatam class. And Prabhupada was describing causeless mercy. Because we're delivered by the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada was explaining causeless. He said, if you're walking down the street and you find lying on the ground a satchel full of $1 million, just lying there. Or somebody you don't even know walks up and says, here, take, and fills your pockets full of gold coins. I mean, Prabhupada said that was Prabhupada's definition of causeless mercy. So Prabhupada said to Madhavisa, I have created your good fortune. Now I only ask one thing. Anyone other than Dravida know the one thing, and Vijay, that Prabhupada asked for? He did ask for something. That you go and create good fortune to others. And it's a mystical thing. The more it's like Prabhupada, one of the first things I heard Prabhupada say, spiritual mathematics is 1 + 1 is 1, and 1 - 1 is 1. Because Krishna's full, he's Purnami. We were explaining Sri Upanishad, that Krishna's never diminished, he's unlimited and never decreases. So the amazing thing is that you can give mercy, and the more mercy you give, are you the loser? Like if I have a bank balance of $100 and I give away 90, then what happens? If I have $100 and I give away $90, how many are left? Way to go, buddy. 10. So it's diminished, right? It's greatly reduced. So if we give mercy to others, is our stock lost? What happens to our stock, our realization? It increases exponentially. It just increases to the nth degree. The more we give, the more we realize how much we've been delivered. So Prabhupada's talking about that in the purport. I did want to say some other things. In the few minutes we have left. Just one other thing. I was listening to a tape the other day. People are worried about so many things. They're worried about how they look. They're worried about their bank balance. As soon as the kid is born, they put money into college. I got to save money for the... People are worried about IRA. They're worried about their teeth. They're worried about, And I'm not saying those things aren't, we shouldn't take care of all this. But people are always in anxiety about so many things. It's amazing what people... Anyway, I was on this preaching thing up in... We were in Eugene and we were in Ashland. And then we were... Yeah, okay. So this guy had a bald spot. He was, a little spot in the back, and he kept looking in the mirror, checking out his butt. He was fluffing his hair, trying to cover it up, So finally, anyway, it's a long story. I got to know him. I said, listen, just get used to it. It's only getting bigger. He said, oh, thanks, I said, look, just accept it. And, there's nothing you can do, but what are you going to do? Get a little small wig and put it over it, glue it on or something? It's going. Get used to it. Prabhupada was saying on a tape, people worry about so many things. Anxiety is just, it's the protum and otum. It's woven in. It's baked in to experience. People are always in anxiety. But what they really should be anxiety about, they're not thinking about. What to do about birth, death, disease, and old age. Those are the big four. Why? Why don't they worry about it? Anyone know? They give up trying to solve it. There's no solution. They think, there's no answer. What's that? I hadn't thought of that, but it's actually true. It would spoil the whole thing. But they think that's just the fabric of life. What was that? There was a song when it's called "It's a Very Good Life," and it talks about when I was a young man, when I was this, when I was that. Now he's an old geezer, and all he's doing... When I was a kid, I wanted to go to school like anything. My brother went... I was the youngest in our family. My brother went first. My sister went first. I wanted to go to school. I went to school. I was there a couple of days. Said, okay, been there, done that. I want to go home. I want to play. I want to play baseball. I want to watch cartoons. I said, no. My mother said, no. You can't go. You're here for 6 years. You're in that. What? I said, I didn't sign any release. What's with that? Then they said, well, no. And I was thinking, okay, I can tolerate. When I get to middle school, I used to play the saxophone and the trombone. Yeah, a long time ago, obviously. So, well, I can be in the band. That'll be fun. All right, I'll stick it out. Then when I got, obviously it's completely dry. The band, it was completely hokey. But that time I was too cool to be in the band. Thought, well, I get into high school, I can play football. Hey, I was looking forward to it, right? Got into high school, broke my collarbone, first game. Well, that's out, So 4 more years of this, And it just goes on like that. And if you continue, by Krishna's grace, I was saved by the devotees. But you go on, you talk to a freshman in school, college, they love it. I'm free from, I no parents. I can eat whatever I like. Pizza and pasta, and then they gain 20 pounds and wonder what happened. But, it's great. I love it. You talk to a senior in college, what do they want to do? Well, they want to get out. They want to get into the real world. I want to make some money. Of course, you've got those that stay in forever. Go for the master's, go for a PhD, and if they really never get out of the jail, then they teach. Those who, what is it, the old saying? Those who can do, those who can't teach. Of course, we have a debt to teachers. I don't mean to, But anyway, but you want to get out. You want to test it out. I remember my father, he was a young buck. He was starting in his, in his business. And he was growing, and he was, right? Then, when he got to, whatever it was, 50 years, what's he looking forward to? He's looking forward to retiring. And then finally he retires. What do they do when they retire? You get these old guys together. Prabhupada saw a golf course one time. Prabhupada said, what is this? Karundar told me this. Prabhupada said, what is this? Prabhupada said, Karundar said, it's golf. Prabhupada said, what is that? They said, well, Prabhupada, they take a stick and they take a ball and they knock it into a hole 18 times. You know what Prabhupada's answer was? Prabhupada said, this has simply been invented for old men to waste time. What else are they going to do? They got some game. They said, not too strenuous. So when they finally retire, they're looking forward. They're looking forward. They're looking forward. And they would retire. What are they doing? They're looking, oh, when I caught the pass at the homecoming game, or oh, when I was just starting my business, or oh, when I. So when were they actually living? Tell me, when were they actually experiencing, a peaceful oasis of time? Never. They're always looking forward. They're always looking back. So. And that which they really should worry about, they're not even thinking about. And they meet a devotee and they just snap. Because I do want to say something else, and I'll tell it again because it's one of my favorite. Indra Bharta Prabhu was a brahmachari. He's married now. He's one of my old friends from my brahmachari days in Detroit. Blissful brahmachari. He was just by nature a very happy person. Always looking on the sunny side of life. So he smacked his foot and he needed to get some medical care. So we went to the Detroit welfare office because you had to get on welfare and then you could get Medicare. Medicare, is that what it's called? Whatever it was called. Yeah, you get medical treatment, and the state pays for it. So we were there, and I don't know if you've ever been in a welfare office. It's like if you were to, it's those coin sorters, you shake it and the quarters go here, the dimes go here. If you were to shake out everybody who's got a degree of happiness, and all that's left are the absolutely miserable people, they're going to be at the Detroit welfare office. I guarantee you. And it's painted, it's that institutional green. It's got all those aluminum chairs, the linoleum floor. It's just like everything is funky. Soda fountain doesn't work. The snacks, all this, it's empty. You got to bang it 15 times and it devours your quarters. That's the scene there. And the lady's behind bulletproof glass because it's Detroit, right? She got a little crank thing, crank it out, crank it in, So, and everybody's miserable, and everybody's trying to game the system, and everybody's, there's a million places they'd rather be, including the people working there. So, they ask you to fill out a form with all of your assets, they ask you, gold fillings, rings, coins in your pocket, lint, anything that you've got, motorboat, crypt, burial plot. I swear to you, it's just, if you've got anything, we're going to get it from you first before we give you a dime. And Indra Bharta, and there's a total at the end of the thing. Indra Bharta, he's a brahmachari. He didn't own anything. Zip. Everything was 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Military benefits 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And at the end, his total was 0. And the lady's not looking up. Just number 12, number like one of those things over the speaker. So they call his number. He slips in the form. She's this big lady living on potatoes or whatever it is. She's not happy. She's not happy. She doesn't want to be there. And she cranks open the thing. He slips she cranks it, just automatic, like a muscle memory. She cranks it up, cranks it. She's not even looking up. The sheet comes in, she looks at his sheet. And she saw it. And she told us later on, it has a happy ending. She told us later, well, I'll just say this part. She looked at it, and she looked up at him, and she looked at the form, and she looked at him, and she said, "But you look so damn happy." Those were his exact words, She'd said she'd never seen anybody who had a 0. Everybody had something. They had their Uncle Vinny who, was going to give them they could sleep on his couch. Everybody had something. But this guy was an absolute 0. And he was blissful. He's a brahmachari. He's getting prasadam. He's got service. Prabhupada said Vaishnav means, what is it? Give me enough room to lie down, some prasadam, some service. Other than that, let me chant Hare Krishna. Enough room to lie down. And when I was a brahmachari in Detroit, when I was a brahmachari in Detroit, in Los Angeles, I swear to you, the brahmachari ashram had black tape and like parking slots. We had 20 to 25 men in that room from that railing to here, maybe a little wider. It's the gift shop. It used to be the gift shop, or it is the gift shop. It used to be the brahmachari, and literally there were black tape marked on the thing. I liked my spot. My spot was by the window. You get 25 men at night. You want to be by a window. Then I also had a plug so I could plug in my alarm clock because I got up early to help with the Didi Puja, So I had an alarm clock. I had a primo spot. I had window. And I remember my mother coming to see where I lived. I was her baby boy, And she looked, and I swear to you, she said, "Well, where do you sleep?" I said, "I'll show you." Took her up to the brahmachari, took her shoes off, took her up to the brahmachari, and there's no furniture. It's just an empty room with these parking slots. She said, "Well, where do you live? Where do you sleep?" I said, "Right there." She said, "Where?" I said, right there, Mom. She burst into tears. She said, "I didn't raise you to live like this." I said, "Yeah, that's the problem. If you'd raised me to live like this, I would have been a whole lot happier." But the point is that, I guess I'll say this, we should always remember how fortunate we are to be born as devotees. Difficulties will come. It doesn't matter where you go. There's going to be difficulties. That is the nature of the place. So why not, at least we have a solution. And I'll end here, but at least we have light at the end of the tunnel. You know the saying, light at the end of the tunnel? You know what that light at the end of the tunnel is, Amoga? Huh? It's the train coming at you. For the materialist. There's no relief. But you're right. He's a devotee. So he said, yeah, that light is, I'm going back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada was on a morning walk. And make me end here because I've got to get back to my office. In Mayapur, you can hear it on the tape. And it was the first big Gaur-Purnim. So I guess that was 1973. And it was rough. We didn't know how to live in India. We all went marching down the road. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. You see that picture of Chutnada's leading, and we're going down to Srila Bhakti, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yog Pit, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's 11 o'clock, high noon sun in India in late March. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Everybody got back. They passed out from sunstroke. You watch the old timers. They know when to sit in the shade. So everyone was covered with mosquito bites. I could go on and on and on, but it was rough because we didn't know how to live. And, we didn't know anything about the tropical India. And the devotees didn't know how to cook. We had hired cooks, and I don't even want to get into it. Bugs in the rice, so many things. So Prabhupada's on this morning walk, and he says, devotees don't suffer. There's a long, quiet pause. Nobody says anything. And finally here, Panchadevita Maharaj, who had that distinctive voice, and on behalf of all of us, he said, Prabhupada, if the devotees don't suffer, exactly what are we doing? It sure looks like stuff. And Prabhupada, who didn't miss a thing, Prabhupada's laughing. Prabhupada laughed. He said, that's all right. But after this life, back home, back to Godhead. Later on, we'll get back to that in a second, but later on, Prabhupada was speaking in the evening, and he said, you're coming from the West, from well-to-do families. Anybody born in America, in those days was, it was a good situation materially, I never saw a homeless person in my life until after Reagan, whatever, it's a whole story. But
Prabhupada said, you've come here at great expense, at great difficulty. We were living in a construction site because the Lotus building was just being built. And Prabhupada said, and he was listed. I said, you don't know how to live in India. I can't, And then Prabhupada said, I cannot even provide fresh milk. And Prabhupada began to cry. I'm telling you, there wasn't a dry eye in the house because, Prabhupada was up before us, more austere than us, staying up later than us, had given his entire life, his every breath to Krishna. And he's lamenting that he can't provide milk. So, all right. So there's some difficulty to get this movement going and to maintain. It's not an easy thing. Prabhupada said spiritual movement in the material world, difficult proposal. We're going against the current of everything. So, all right, there may be some difficulty. There will be difficulty. And if you talk about pioneers, and we're still first, for the first 200, 300 years, the Christians were being thrown to lions. You ever meet a lion out there, a hungry lion ready to devour you, Govardhan Prabhu? You met some lion-like people, but, we're only, 50 years plus? And we have everything. We have books, we have tapes of Srila Prabhupada, we have saintly association, we've got beautiful deities. We're in great shape. You can travel all over the world and take shelter in a temple, get prasadam. They're being thrown to lions. So we are still pioneers, and in a pioneer life, it's not our culture, it's not our tradition, so many different things. But if we perform that austerity, because the main thing is we're in the Christmas marathon, actually. Just for a few days, through the New Year's Eve or New Year's weekend, just give a little back. I've gotten so much. I've been saved. And now I can save others. Let me give a little bit back. And you will find that the realizations and the happiness and the satisfaction. All right, we can end there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. And if you want to know how to give something back, ask Vijay. He'll engage you. Don't worry. And it doesn't matter what it is. Go out for an hour at a book table. You can sit down. Take a packed lunch. Only talk to people you like. Just do it. Hare Krishna.